those involved in the tourism business, from receptionists to managers, travel agents to tour guides, and waitresses to barmen, especially barmen, with their drinks and entertaining jokes and repartee, are akin to actors. But the sets are vitally important. The scenic backdrop to the tourist visit, the historic sites, the rainforest adventures, the underwater coral gardens, the floor shows displaying so-called cultural dances. These are Caribbean tourist experiences that our clients have been encouraged to visit. We have enticed them here with our marketing material in print, film, and cyberspace. We have paid advertising agents millions of dollars to conjure up tempting images and descriptions of the experiences awaiting them. Nature, history, health, wellness, and indeed authenticity are all part of the language that is used to get our clients to pull out their plastic and pay to go to our destination. What are we giving them when they get here? How really authentic is the experience? Authenticity is a difficult concept to pin down. It can be the genuine article, or it can be a delusion of the real thing that the visitor is prepared to buy into. Disney World is a case in point. Its visitors know that they are participating in make-believe. It's part of the fairy tale, a vast dream world of plastic computerized pirates and of mock European cities and adventures planted in a swamp in Florida. The unreal magic of this man-made mirage is part of the attraction. But we here in the Caribbean, we increasingly market ourselves as the genuine article. We have sites related to the real pirates of the Caribbean, real rainforests, real coral reefs, and real people taking part in traditional cultures of the islands that have evolved over centuries with the coming together of a variety of ethnic groups. All of this, and the story which goes with it, comes together to form what we market as the Caribbean experience. Our average visitor is far better informed than they were when the tourism industry began to blossom in the 1960s. A limbo dancer walking on crushed glass and eating fire with a steel band tinkling away in the background was all the entertainment that was necessary for a fun-filled evening back then. But now, we must come better than that. Information about sites, performances, and experiences must be accurate, honest, and interesting. With the flick of a smartphone and a quick entry into the Google search engine, a tour guide can be proved to be wrong. Our colorful history and the sites associated with these events are among the key features of our product. This is the way in which they are restored and maintained, and these must follow as much as possible the traditional methods, so that we can honestly say that a fort has survived intact for 300 years, or that a sugar plantation complex is more or less as it was when sugar was king. The materials used in their construction are a significant part of the story. Displays of information and artifacts are necessary to authenticate these issues. Interesting and well-designed interpretation centers are increasingly becoming an important part of natural and heritage sites. Along with our climate and natural attractions both on land and sea, our history forms a significant part of our product. Here, as we move into our discussion section, is a list, a checklist if you wish, of what we are offering and ways in which we manage and present them. These can be considered by our team and by your participation later on in the presentations. The natural formation of the islands, of the region, through tectonic activity, including volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, uplift and subduction zones, and the presence of coral reefs are all part of this story. The latter is an increasingly threatened product, and dive operators now have to be frankly explaining the realities of the bleaching of coral and the damage to coastlines due to climate change. I have personally witnessed the disappointment of snorkelers and scuba divers after they have visited sites along the islands which were promoted for their beautiful sponges and corals. Of course, what makes it more difficult for the dive operators are the fantastic underwater images that appear on television documentaries, and their clients expect similar quality at every site. Flora and fauna in parks, botanic gardens, and protected areas. Here is an area where accurate information is crucial, since many of the visitors, such as bird watchers and amateur botanists, often travel in groups and are extremely well informed. The local guides who are hired to take such visitors around also need to be top local specialists in the field. Information material in the form of books, website addresses, or CDs on the local flora and fauna is crucial for this sector. Amerindian settlement before the arrival of Columbus. By expanding what we have to offer even further back in time to the pre-Columbian period, new possibilities for visitor experiences are opened up. Dominica, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic and Cuba are already incorporating their Taíno and Carib Kalinago sites and traditions to the tourism market. And even if there are territories that do not have the descendants of indigenous people upon them, there are sites and archaeological digs that can be used to, as I say, expand this time period even further back. With Disney's launching of the Pirates of the Caribbean film series over the last few years, visitors interested in pirates has increased remarkably, and questions about piracy. Our opportunity is to incorporate our region's involvement with the real pirates of the Caribbean. This includes sites of their activities, their way of life, and their ports of call, and indeed places where they are considered to have buried treasure, always top on the list of questions. Historic cities have been part of the product for a long time. Old San Juan, colonial Santo Domingo, and the historic towns of Cuba have attracted visitors for generations. But the challenge now is to maintain them in the face of increasing use and pressures of maintenance and of their integrity. From the smallest traditional houses on the island of Saba, for instance, to the colonial cities recognized by UNESCO on their World Heritage List, such settlement and its architecture tells a story and provides a particular atmosphere that lends itself to the tourism experience, and all of the other products associated with this, like restaurants, museums, art galleries, and the rest. Ports and fortifications go very closely along with these colonial cities. These are perhaps among our most valuable visitor attractions. As someone like myself who has been intimately involved with the restoration of such a site, I know how important it is to use authentic materials and traditional techniques. Here in this picture is a building that I supervised the restoration of, from a complete ruin to presently being used as a hostel within a fort. And one of the main concerns is the authenticity of materials to be used and the skills to be maintained of the individuals involved in such construction. As a result, there is added value and interest when presenting the story to visitors. Not only is it the site, not only it is the history, but the methods that were used in its construction and the methods that are used in maintaining the site. Plantation life, slavery, and indentured labor. The harsh aspects of the Caribbean experience must be honestly and frankly told. Plantation houses, like forts, are important parts of our product, and it is best to be completely open about how things were and how this influences the present. There have been some very successful adaptations of plantation houses as productive visitor sites. These combine rum production with wedding and event destinations, as well as general visitor receptions. Places such as St. Nicholas Abbey in Barbados, which was pictured earlier, and also l'Habitation Clément, which we will be hearing something about in a moment, here in Martinique, these come to mind. And it's not all about sugar production. There are great sites of coffee and cocoa production incorporated in this way in St. Lucia, Grenada, and Puerto Rico. The level of authenticity in their presentation is key to their success. The cultural mix of dance, dress, music, and language. Caribbean music and dance is associated with the region across the world. Along with the festivals, this is one of the main selling points. The mix of rhythms and the sources of music and song is a historical tapestry in itself. It tells many stories, and as I said earlier, we have come a long way since the 1960s in its presentation. Our visitors are now interested in the sources, the origins, the costumes used, and the purpose of those dances and performances. The cultural mix also relates to cuisine and the sources of ingredients. And here is another great challenge for the industry, providing the different local delicacies that were once consumed seasonally by small island populations. And this is now transformed to a vast demand in the market from visitors. The species that are most threatened by the demands of the hotels and restaurants to satisfy the visitors' culinary interests are the conch, the spiny lobster, and the land crab. To satisfy the demand for crab meat served in crab backs, I have witnessed, and I won't say which island it was on, I have witnessed crab meat from Alaska disguised in Creole sauce, the famous disguise of the Caribbean in any food, the Creole sauce, and served in simulated plastic molded crab backs. The tourists who were enjoying what was sold to them as traditional island crab backs happily enjoyed their meal and were none the wiser. But is that authenticity? There are some of the questions that we shall be discussing on this panel, and I encourage you to participate and make your own contributions to the debate when the time comes.